Well, hello, everybody. I'm David Strom from St. Louis, and I'm here with my good friend Sam Whitmore, high atop his penthouse Airy in the Upper West Side of Manhattan. And we're here today to talk about two reports that came out in the last couple of weeks. One from the Google Threat Group called Advances in Threat Actor Usage of AI Tools, very highfalutin title, and another one from Anthropic, the makers of Claude AI, that has an equally strange title called Disrupting the First Reported AI Orchestrated Cyber Espionage Campaign. Do you think there's enough modifiers on that, Sam?
You know, we're not going to talk about the Anthropic first, but the report from Anthropic to me seems like a sales pitch. Like we're going to get into the secret business and we're going to create all this code, but we're going to sell you the protection to make sure it doesn't go crazy on you. That's the feeling that I got.
Yeah, nice AI model you got there. It would be a shame if anything happened to it. Well, Google is not exactly a disinterested third party either. They
No.
sell their stuff. So the Google report says that adversaries are no longer leveraging AI just for productivity gains. They're really going after sort of the Skynet scenario of having AI-enabled malware to actively exploit people's networks. The threat groups are now using models during their execution of the threats to dynamically generate scripts on demand, hide their own code from detection, and they're also using almost human-like social engineering pretexts to bypass security guardrails. So when you take that apart, that's really frightening because now we're getting incredible force multipliers where a threat actor can just spend a few minutes and attack hundreds of systems and not really have to do it point by point. You have these agents that talk to each other that really leverage productivity. So what are the specifics? The Anthropic report really gets into how they've observed people exploiting their Claude code, which is their AI coding product. And it's basically an orchestration of all the various components of a typical malware campaign. So reconnaissance of a network, discovering the vulnerabilities of the servers and links that are on the network, then doing lateral movement and exploiting these discoveries, harvesting credentials. All of these are separate tasks that typically a human operator would have a piece of code that would do these things and find credentials that were left open, like an unprotected S3 bucket or something like that. But then all of this is happening autonomously. They're, the people are just basically saying, go forth. Um, and Anthropic claims it's the first documented attack without very much human intervention or control. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's certainly the first time that they found it. Uh, and the fact that they can just decompose attacks into these component parts using various agents is very scary.
I have one question. The Anthropic attack happened more than a year ago. And so if this was such a big threat, why haven't we having like all these black swans, real attacks? I can't understand why whole year went by without a tragedy.
Well, perhaps it's because we don't know about these other. Uh,
We would know. What about stuck neck? What was that? Stuxnet. That was a long time ago. But I'm talking about that level of catastrophe. And if this thing was a real threat, it would have happened right already by now.
yes and no. I mean, if Stuxnet had a physical manifestation, you saw broken centrifuges. That was easy, but that still took probably close to 5 or 6 years before all the intelligence that came out about the real nastiness of that and how it came to be and how the American and Israeli agencies worked together on it. There was a lot of details that didn't come very quickly from that. And I think the same thing is going to happen here. I think what's, Anthropic is maybe being disingenuous in taking their sweet time about letting us know about it, um, perhaps. But I think the attackers are using a lot of AI and they're using a lot of it in very sophisticated ways. And we're
Oh,
just
for sure.
going to find out about it too late.
For one of the things that fascinates me is that one of the sort of obvious way to trick in the AI is to say I'm not actually trying to break into a network here. What I'm
Right.
trying, I'm a wet hat guy. I'm trying to simulate an attack to just so I can defend it. And every time the AI gets tricked by that,
Yeah, sure. Here you go. Here's the nuclear codes. Go
you
forth.
you'd think that the AI companies would be wise to that stratagem at this point.
Yeah, you would think. I found it quite amusing that they were using social engineering techniques on
That
the
that's
AI. I
that's
mean, it's like, how more human can you get? My cousin is stranded in Budapest, and I need money.
it needs money. It's the same principle.
Right.
But I think keeping in mind who is listening to this conversation, what they want to learn. If I was in comms, I would be worried about, how much, how many interviews are going to be canceled because there's some big story that is breaking because of AI security, and it's going to monopolize all the headlines for weeks and weeks. That's what comms people should be afraid of. So my question to you, David, because you're such an expert in security, is that a real possibility?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. No question it's going to happen. Um, you'll love this. I got an email the other day from Facebook. Um, and I was almost ready to automatically delete it, but it turns out it was the email that told me that I had gotten a payment as a result of Facebook's privacy violations. Years ago, they finally settled, and now the lawyers made off with their millions. And you want to
Uh-huh.
guess how much and then they said you can get this debit card, which also like, oh my God, I don't know if I want to touch that, but I looked online and went, yes, this is the real thing. This is how they're communicating with people. So I got my Visa debit card. You want to guess how much I got from Facebook?
I'm gonna guess maybe $25.
You're close. It was $38.
That's pretty close.
Well, I'm not going to spend it all in, one place.
You can send it to me. I'll spend it.
Oh, okay. But I mean, that just shows you how paranoid we've gotten that even when we've actually have real hard cash money that's going to come through that email, my
I know.
first reaction was, nah, can't be possible.
But I'm serious. I don't. I'm trying to respect your concern about this phenomenon, but it would have happened already. I really think that if we really had a big threat, I think it would have already happened.
Well, I think it takes time to build the kind of threat product that we're talking about in these two reports, because it's tricky. You have to understand agentic AI, which is not an easy thing to do. You've got to set up all sorts of routines, and the average malware threat group pays armies of people to do stuff. And it doesn't cost them that much for these people because, they're operating out of China, North Korea, wherever. Um, and so it's got to be cost effective to scale it to the kind of scale that we're talking about with the orchestration of, 8 or 9 moving parts. It's not like just writing some little cute chatbot that, responds to, text prompts. There's a lot of work under the covers.
I guess what I'm hearing you say is that it may take a long time to build, but the fact that it's so scalable that once it hits, if it does, it's gonna go real fast, right?
Right. I can point this at give me every telecommunications company in the Western Hemisphere, and play capture the flag games with their enterprise network. Uh, and go forth. And in a matter of minutes, they will have tried to infiltrate these networks. And part of the problem is the average corporate network has so many complexities, is it hasn't been upgraded in all the various patches and fixes. And so these bots go out there and say, well, my version of Windows Server is still like 2020 or something, and hasn't installed these 15 patches. And let me go look and see which of those patches will leverage me admin access or something. I mean, that takes time.
Um, you're a security journalist. What stories are bigger than this one right now? So, for example, everybody loves James Rundle at the Journal. Everybody in PR, everybody loves him. Like, what stories are bigger than this for somebody like that?
Well, I think part of the problem is most of the trade press is focused on AI related stories. It's really sucked a lot of the oxygen out of the conversation.
Well, according to you, that's not wrong because you're very concerned about this cataclysm of that's going to take everybody out.
Right. And every vendor now has an AI message. We've improved our, I don't know, endpoint detection product with new AI goodness. It's added vitamins to the program.
But I haven't seen too much agentic AI marketing right now because I don't
Yeah.
think people really believe that's a real thing right now.
Well, it is a real thing. It's just really hard to do.
Huh.
And part of the problem is the minute so if you're going to just have one agent talk to Claude or Gemini or somebody, that's pretty trivial. Where agents really get their productivity boost is, let's say I'm producing a report that tells me which of my customers are the most delinquent in paying me. And so that's going to touch 5 different systems that I'm running. And they're all proprietary systems that are running on my SaaS infrastructure, and they all involve money. You think I want to let AI loose on that without really knowing what I'm doing? No, I want to really take it easy, make sure that I have that the guardrails really are guarding the system. And a lot of these cases that in both of these reports from Anthropic and Google, they're showing that the guardrails really, they were dust in a matter of minutes.
Well, last year at this time, yes,
Right.
but the big lag. So, remember, so the meter service scribers, do you advise them to market the idea about AI security, or is it just too crowded a trade, and just try to find another story that won't bore reporters?
Well, the question I always ask when vendors start going down into their AI orgasm with me, which is a concept I don't even want to think about, is what are you doing now that AI is enabling that is so unique? Are you
Uh-huh.
catching problems faster? Are you finding more ways to unobfuscate your code? Are you being able to keep, a lot of, I'm sure you've not heard this term, polymorphic malware. It's malware that shifts its shape and changes its attack methods just at random. And so if you're looking for a specific pattern, well, you're not going to find it because that pattern is gone. So how can you use AI to keep up with that fast pace of moving throughout your network?
Um, I only have one more question about for you, and you have sort of in piecemeal addressed already answered the question. Let's say you and I had the job of create panels for a black hat next year. Which it's really not too early to be thinking about panels for black hat for next year. And so, based on the conversation that we just had, what kind of panels do you think would pack the room regarding these topics?
Well, I'd like to see some of the Fortune 100 IT people up there spilling some secrets. We built this system. It's better than sliced bread, and we were able to um, not fire our entire IT staff, but repurpose them to do other useful things.
And
Because I think the
why would that
intersection
be in the interest to say that?
the intersection between AI and humans is really going to be fascinating over the next couple of years. And what does it enable? When we first got PCs in the early 80s, and when you and I were raking in money hand over fist at PC Week, what was the big productivity gain there? It was using a single piece of software, or maybe two or three pieces of software, to build a spreadsheet, to build a database, to write a corporate report without having to use carbon paper and retype the whole thing with white.
Or you use the mainframe. That was the other thing. You didn't want to stand in line to be able to access the mainframe. You could just do stuff on your own in the department.
Right, right. And remember, those mainframe lines were months long.
Yes, there were.
Now, if I write a program and it takes me an hour, that's considered too long. AI can do it in seconds. I just saved myself an hour of programming time. I mean, who would have cared about that 20 years ago, even maybe 10 years ago? So the economies of scale have really, collapsed.
Well, I just really enjoyed this conversation. I would love to hear from the listeners what they got out of it.
Yeah, me too. Please write to us and let us know what you think.
Yeah, my address is Sam at Media Survey.
David at strom.com. Thanks a lot, Sam. It was a pleasure as always talking to you.
Okay, David.